If you suffer from range anxiety when it comes to considering buying an electric vehicle, you'll be happy to know that silicon is the holy grail to solving capacity issues for electric vehicle batteries. That's because silicon-based anodes have up to 10 times the energy density of a fully graphite-based anode. That's why Porsche, Mercedes, and General Motors are betting on silicon anode batteries. However, despite the great promise, they're known to suffer from one problem: that's significant degradation during the charging and discharging cycles. And degradations aren't good when it comes to batteries. Enter HPQ Silicon, who we got on the screen right now, a technology company that has proven with data superior performance of their silicon-based anode materials without degradation, and is now positioned to become a vital supplier of silicon materials for battery anodes. And their timing couldn't be better because the market for silicon anode materials, if this problem gets solved, could reach $130 billion by 2033. And today, we're going beyond the press release with this announcement. Their Gen 2 advanced silicon-based anode material delivers superior performance at 50 cycles. Bernard, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you.
Oh, welcome. It's like you're looking down here, got something better.
No, I was just really looking at my title you were reading, making sure you were doing it okay.
Hey, love the shirt.
Thank you.
Right? And is the shirt celebrating the fact that since the last time we spoke a week ago, the stock is up about 50%? Not that we're taking a victory lap, but hey, it's fun to have a little fun.
It's just starting. It's just starting.
Okay, I love that. All right, let's get right into this. You're saying your Gen 2 capacity improvement of 30% versus graphite benchmarks. Okay. So that sounds impressive, but to everybody watching right now, I know people are starting to take note of HPQ Silicon. They really can't put that into perspective. So let's start with that. Give us some perspective. How big is a 30% improvement over the graphite benchmark?
Wow, anything a 30% improvement. How can I say this? You know, if you buy a box with, you got 30% more for the same price, you got something better. So this is fundamentally what you get. You get 30% more energy from your batteries. And the right term is like, basically it's an overall capacity improvement of 30%. All right. And then it's how you play around with the cycles and you re-demonstrate it. So what people are looking to do is to have a battery that's going to last longer, be cheaper, because the holy grail for the EV industry, okay, for the EV industry, is to have a material that's going to be cost competitive to graphite that will help improve the batteries, because graphite batteries have almost reached, I say almost because, you know, somebody can always figure a way out, sort of almost reached their maximum capacity. Now, when I mean we, I mean the guys at Novation, which are the brains behind this, and myself strongly believe that in, 20 years from now, when I'll be old, gray, and decrepit. Now I'm already gray and old, but I'm not decrepit yet. And basically, we're still going to be using silicone and graphite silicone type batteries that are going to be much more improved. So we're just demonstrating an ability to make a material that can, if you're a graphite company, you can improve the performance. If you're a battery company and you only use graphite in your batteries, we can improve the performance of what you're doing. So this is going to play into the demand. The demand for the material we're doing is going to be as big as the demand for batteries. And it doesn't take a genius right now with all the AI, the artificial computers. What they want to do now, they want to put an AI GI into your iPhone, your phone. All right. Well, guess what? This is going to require more capacity of your batteries. But if you don't want to go back to the old, the old battery phone that the battery was half of it, you're going to need to put silicone into those batteries. Yeah, something like this. So I see how many people they have their phone and then they got like 6 files to carry their extra charger because their battery's already dying, and they have all those issues. So the market for what we're doing is massive, okay? And we're just at the beginning of doing this, and we're already, the key point to get is HPQ through his work with Novation. We're already doing the material of the quality of the top guys in the industry. So we feel very happy with those type of results. Yeah.
you've got a quote here that kind of puts the business side into perspective.
Hmm?
Our non-optimized Gen 2 engineered silicon anode material continues to deliver results
Mhm.
that have real-world applications. These achievements open new doors for HPQ as we strive to become a manufacturer of next-generation engineered silicon-based anode materials.
Mhm.
First of all, non-optimized. You've mentioned that a couple of times in previous press releases. So let's elaborate on that. Does that mean the
Okay.
results can get even better? When do you
Oh yeah.
optimize? When you decide to optimize? What does that mean?
Well, we won't start to optimize until we've reached the maximum we can do with what we have right now. And as we said in the previous press release, the guys at Novation are aiming to make a batteries that's going to be close to, I think, above 4,000 milliampere per hour, and or that. So like close to the record or breaking the record. That's their goal of doing this. Once we've done this, then we'll start working on how can we scale up commercials and do these things, and then into it because we own a few patents. Novation owns a few patents in regard to specific surface treatment. I think we even issued a press release on it where we said the surface treatment we do can even improve the performance because we've done some small level tests. The surface performance of just pure graphite batteries. So if you already got a battery that you've improved the percentage by 30, 35%, whatever we end up getting them, the maximum number what we can do, and then we add their material, then we're going to be pushing it higher. Now, does that mean we can use less material to reach the car? This is why non-optimized is you keep playing with the parameters and being able to test them and come up with new results. And we're developing and demonstrating a capacity to do these type of things. That's what these results demonstrate. A year ago, we couldn't do this. We weren't there. Now we
What's the difference?
understand.
What's changed in the last year? What is it you've
Experience, work.
improved on?
No, it's experience, it's understanding. It's there's a lot of industrial research, understanding how it's manufactured, how it's done. Very, very soon, I'll be announcing how HPQ intends to move the manufacturing and what type of unique competitive advantage we will have to do this. And we will have multiple of them. Some of them that come from our legacy work we've done, like one horse ponies that became a multiple horse pony. And some of them comes from results of the work being done by Novation. This is why Novation is very important. When we started Novation, we said it would become our R&D arm, and that's literally what it is. It is our R&D arm. They generate concept, generate idea. And the beauty of our situation is that we have our foot, okay, in probably the two largest market, bear China, okay, that are woken up, literally became woke, in the good sense of the word, to the fact that you cannot depend on a outsourcing of the material to an area that from people that don't have your best interest in mind. So if you look at all those big picture image, okay, and we're able to do the type of material that everybody in the world wants and is looking at, plus we have the incredible unique advantage of being the only one that will have a zero carbon footprint silicone feedstock. Because I will tell you this, even the competitors from people making this material from China and those areas understand that the carbon footprint of silicone is its Achilles heel. Because carbon footprint is going to start to play a lot of into it. It's going to be a bumpy ride. It's not going to be direct, but who cares? Because our process, economical to do it, do the material, and then we can go value added. That's what we always said we would do at HPQ. Okay. If you look at it in the
That
big
zero
picture,
carbon is a massive competitive advantage, right? That
yes, it
low
is,
carbon
but
or
it's
zero
not fully
carbon, that's a
realized.
massive competitive advantage to Georgecom Silicon at the end of the day.
Yes, it is, but it's not yet realized. That's one of the things I find interesting because I'm having those same type of discussion in the fume silica area. And, I'm telling you, our process is going to be zero fume silica. And from the industry, the first reaction is, well, nobody's doing it, so nobody's asking for it. But that's not true. Once you start doing it and you can do it, people are showing interest for it.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. So, we we did a deliberate choice to focus a bit more of our work on fumed silica because we thought it had it's going to have a bigger, faster impact. Okay. But the long distance, the big ticket item, the bigger elephant in the room, okay, is going to be our silicone for battery.
That's a long tail.
That's the long tail.
Yeah, you had a couple of images that you had in the
Yeah.
press release.
Mhm.
Let's pop them up. You've got them there side by side.
Yeah.
Let's pop them up because I'd like you to kind of walk people through visually. Look, it's called Beyond the Press Release for a reason. Let's kind of visually walk through people. I mean, everyone has a basic understanding of what you're showing here, but let's kind of go over it again and a little more details to what the importance of this is. So let's start obviously the one on the left.
Well, actually, I'll preface this before we start. Okay. I'll preface this by this, that in a certain way, this press release, today's press release, is a continuation of our May 16 press release. Okay. Because in our May 16 press release, we talked about the maximum capacity of the battery. All right. Now, when you test for maximum capacity, you use one testing protocol. When you start testing, because it's different what you're looking for, what you're looking to do, you're using the same batteries with the same material, but you're testing them differently. So once you know what's the maximum capacity of your batteries, that doesn't really change. That sort of becomes a stable type of area. Then you change the protocol to do the testing. You go with a NASA-led protocol, which is more designed to figure out how over a long lead. So you change the parameter of the operation and you get the results that you have. Now, what's important to understand is this green line is what we've done with Gen 2. So we're around 3,400 on average, okay? But it's not the same cycle, but in reality, we were at 3,006 when we were testing maximum capacities. You don't do the full test. So that's the point I want people to understand. It's battery capacity, but it's not the maximum battery capacity. You just do something to do a protocol over a long time. And we're actually the only company, I challenge people, okay, to have other public companies that will be this transparent with their data. Because what we do in the industry, we hide it. You'll never see the number of mega. They'll show like a percentage to this. They'll show it as an offset to another one. Okay. Second thing you have to understand is.
So you're saying they'll show it as relative to other things that may not be critical. You're just showing maximum. You're just showing capacity. Period.
We're just showing the capacity done with this test. People in the industry will understand that if we're using, the NASA protocol to test this, and there's going to be a difference to the test you do for the maximum capacity. But I didn't want to write like a 5-page, dissertation document to explain this. So we just present this, and people, please realize that it is not Bernard alone that writes this. I don't vet this. Okay, I have 3 PhDs, which much more understanding of silicone and batteries, that reread my press release and give me their final okay with regard to the information. So it's their information. So I'm not worried. If I was in the mining side, okay, I would say, the data provided has been vouched by XYZ. We don't have to do this in technical solve, but we still do it. Okay. So the key point is, and remember, this is an average of 3 batteries, because this is exactly the same press release. No, not the same press. The same data we gave when we were showing the Gen 1. But the Gen 1, we had 3 lines for 1 batteries and 3 lines for the graphite battery. Okay. So it looked a bit murky, but now we would bring up to 9 lines into this. So it would look very murky, very unclear. So we said, okay, to simplify for clarity's sake, we'll just do the average. So this is the average. What's the key point is the average is pretty god darn steady. We're keeping there pretty much.
Pretty much a straight line.
Pretty much a straight line. You anticipate at one point there's going to be a downright. We don't have it yet. That's just normal. Understand? So you see this 50 cycle, it works well into it. So this is the battery capacity of a testing material. But that doesn't mean the fact that it doesn't change anything with the previously announced result, which is that we're 30% better, or 30% better than graphite and 14% better than Gen 2. This is just a different test that gives us a different type of results, but it doesn't change everything. Now, This is why we have beyond the press release, where I can actually go and explain those a bit, quirkiness that would be way too long to write in a press release that would make it way too boring. The key point to take away from this, is a straight line. Graphite, generation 1, generation 2. So we're getting there. Okay. Now we're working on being on the higher in the 4,000 for generation 3. Still not optimized. We want to see what we can do with that material to push it to the maximum. And then the second one shows.
How happy are your PhDs with all this, Bernard? Like this, just to try and give that anecdotal, because I have no idea. It's the first time I'm asking this question, but how happy are your PhDs with these results?
Extraordinarily happy. They know that they have something, and it's a great mark of their success and their knowledge that in a little less than a year and a half, they've sort of become they're gonna become pretty well known in the next year in France as a startup that they're really the silicone startup in France, is what it is. And luckily for us, HPQ is involved with them, and what they do there, we can do here. We work together. Great relationship.
So I'm going to change my headline for you from your name from Mr. Silicon to Mr. Silicon Canada, so those guys can be Mr. Silicon's France.
Well, I am the president of the Innovation also.
Yeah.
So I have both hats.
Now, what's the image on the right, Bernard?
Well, I just want
to go. What's the image on the right?
Yeah, the image on the right. Okay, we're talking about relative capacity. Okay, because there's always going to be a bit of degradation of the batteries, the variation of batteries during cycling. Okay, so there's always going to be a little bit of it. Now, if you take a look at it, we're just playing, and it's just the quirkiness of how it works, why it goes above 100%. I know it sounds weird, but there's no way around it. Sometimes they peak above and then they go below.
Sure.
The key point to show is we're pretty darn close to staying pretty darn close to graphite, which is what you want in the material. Okay, we're at 50 cycle. Okay, we're 50 cycle, and we only lost about 0.5%. And this, there was no mistake. This line shows the relative capacity of the batteries at each one of those cycle points. That's what the percentage is. It's because somebody wrote to me, or actually somebody wrote on Agoracom, says there was a mistake there. It shouldn't be written. No, it was correctly written, because the line shows the relative capacities of the Gen 2 batteries over 50 cycle at that moment. And then the same thing for this. Remember, average. If not, this would have been a blurry, that wouldn't have been very clear.
You would have 10 lines all over, 10, 12 lines. So that 0.5% drop off, by the time you get to 50 cycles. Okay, for us as layman people at home, we're like, okay, that sounds pretty good. And I'm assuming it is pretty good because you're actually putting in a graph to show everybody. But I'm going to ask you nonetheless, relatively speaking, point to perspective, point to context, how happy would the industry be here that you're getting 30% better improvement capacity with 0.5% or so degradation after 50 cycles? Is how good of a how happy are you with that?
People are going to be very excited. And then the next question again, depending on whom is your end client, okay? So okay, how much is that material going to cost me to buy? That's the next question we're going to be entering into it. So those are going to be the next question mark that comes in, and then they're going to ask you for all carbon footprint. So it's very important. What people have to understand is battery capacities and duration, okay, cyclability, okay, are basically are offsetting event. So if you want a highly efficient battery, okay, it will cycle less longer. So you always have to play a balance. Now I'll follow through on this. And in a previous press release, I think if you guys give me 2 seconds, I'll give you the date.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have the book here. The great big book of everything regarding to HPQ press releases. Yeah. On our March 14 press release, okay, We showed a commercial size battery done by Samsung, okay, that um had lost 5% of their performance. 5%.
Wow.
And that's
Wow.
one of the best ones. That's one of the best one that's been done. It's optimized. It's played into it. It's one that's really used. 5% after after 50 cycle. So we're 0.5%. Okay. Small caveat to give to investors out there. Yes. Do not take too seriously the ads into Alibaba about batteries that can have supposedly like 50,000. I had somebody actually quoted it. It's funny thing. I had twice that happened to me. Some investors quoted me and then came back to me and, there's this SiOX material. It's really, really cheap. Okay. And I took a look at it. It lost in its first cycle 25% of its capacity and 75 by its 50. So it's not even competitive. So the
How's
understand.
panicked HPQ investors that they're finding that though? I gotta,
Yes,
I
but
actually even
those are those
credit
that
to them that
find
they're
those.
finding that to ask you.
Well, it depends. There's some of them that are trying to find them to basically create a question mark, and some of them have relatively questions trying to understand. I understand, like there's a lot of data point to understand. This is why we do these interviews. Okay, it's because we're
Why
trying to
investors
put
love
it
them.
more in layman term. Okay, it's like it's nice to see me excited, jumping up and down over excitement about what we have, but it's also important to understand there's science behind this. Okay, and it's supported by people that understand how the science work, and the results are there. It's moving in the right direction, and that's just the key point I want people to get out of this.
At some point, Bernard, are you going to give us the same kind of metrics that we saw for the fume silica side? So for the fume silica side, you came out that my favorite graph in the world, it's a table that says CapEx 93% lower, energy usage 88% lower, all that cost, all those things. At some point, will you be ready to do that for your SiOX, your silicon, based anode materials here? Are you going to be doing the
I
same thing to
At one point, yes, not yet. It's now it's mostly making the material demonstrators. We have those numbers internally, okay? But we'll be publishing. What people have to understand is that fume silica's numbers are through the roof. Okay, don't expect this to be replicated, but the market is X. But these numbers are going to look very, very interesting. We just got to get more clarity on the selling price of this material. Like we know that the top brand, top material is between $150 to $400 a kilogram. They're selling it, but that's never going to be economical. Remember, graphite top graphite sells for what? $10 to $15 a kilogram. Okay. The beauty of it now, with all the situation with regard to China's export control on graphite, that's going to mean graphite even more valuable, okay, and more difficult to add. So adding silicone replaces graphite, so it's going to play all into these dynamics. So there's a lot of data points that we're not 100% sure, as opposed to fume silica, which we're 100% sure because it's process related costs. We know all the process costs to make our material. Now we're just working on ways how to make, how we can improve the system, how we can make it work. Is it going to be better to use the QRR to make the SiOX to make the material, or is it going to be a different? We're going to be asking all those type of questions. But the importance is just like with fume silica. Okay, we had to make for fume silica to take off really. If you think about it, it took off when we started to make the material. Okay, and it started to demonstrate that there was a real live commercial application to it. So look at it this way. It's just the beginning of the fume silica story in the battery side. And a market that's 10 times bigger is going to be much more in demand. So
this
does
could
this
be the
have
second leg? Do
Yeah.
you think this could be the second commercial leg? Obviously, where it's settled now that fume silica is going to be the first one because the pilot plant to be ready here next couple of months, and you're going to be producing, and your press releases say you're optimistic about offtakes and partnerships and things like that. Do you think this will be the second leg that goes commercial, or is it still
Yeah.
too early to tell?
I think it's going to be the second leg. There might be at one point a
Wow.
competition between the second and third leg that comes into it, but I haven't spoken too much about it yet, so I'll just keep that for further updates.
Maybe we'll start a betting pool with the shareholders on the side to see which one. So what's next steps? And I got to ask you because I used to ask you this on the fume silica side. You
Mhm.
know, what are the challenges? What are the things that still will may keep you awake? If they don't keep you awake, at least keep you on edge to make sure that this all works out as planned. Uh, so what's next? And then how do you scale? How do you keep scaling? How do you maintain these nice numbers without drop off? And what are the challenges? Because everything's got a challenge. I always want to make sure I challenge you on that. What's the
Mhm.
challenge here?
Our challenge is how we can improve the process that are already used, because some of those processes are already known before we use our own patented process into it, our optimization process. So how we can improve those. Okay, so in R&D or development led thing, first thing you do is you do sort of a benchmark, figure out where the industry is. Are you within the ballpark of where the industry is? And then how can you improve it operationally and reduce costs of doing this? So this is about where we're entering now into the process of it. And it's going to come up with specific patents we find, specific things we've done, all those issues coming along moving forward. So if you want to look for a bit of a blueprint of what it is, go back to when I started to talk about fume silica at the beginning. But this is gonna be totally different because fume silica is controlled by a few companies, so those big companies will understand. This is a very decentralized type of situation. There are so many markets we go attack. Like if the drone market for the militaries is there, so you need a lot of suicidal drones. So you need very high efficiency battery, okay, that don't last a very long time because the drone doesn't
I didn't
survive
even know
long.
that was. See, I didn't even know that was a market. I didn't know
That
there's a
is
market.
those are massive market. Any one of those markets, like listen, there's one of my competitors that brags about one of their batteries, and they got a big orders to do flashlights for the U.S. military, and we're actually topping their type of results. So we can do flashlight for the Canadian military, we can do flashlight for NATO, we can do there's
And I know it's early. I know it's early, so I'm not gonna try and pin you down on this, but
Mhm,
do you have? I'm assuming you're gonna try and identify two or three verticals. One for sure is going to be EV batteries for
mhm.
EV batteries. Do you have a couple of other verticals? Because you do talk about the fact there are multiple applications. Do you have a couple of favorites that you're looking at in addition to EV batteries, or would you just put 80-90% of your attention on EV batteries and then let the
Actually,
rest kind of happen organically?
the logic is you're going to go probably from the batteries that have the highest profit margin into it because they're not that important in the overall cost of the material, but very important. Like one of them is tools. There's a lot of people using electric tools now.
Yeah.
So that's a big market. If you can develop better batteries, that you can move into it. As I said, the the drones could be another one of those markets. The EV can also come into it. But so as I said, it's an offshoot of between getting one or the other.
Right. That's all the questions I have for you, my man. It's June the 12th. The market is going to close about 15 minutes. Mind you, this will be out in a couple of hours. But last words to you, how happy you're feeling? Because some people have said Bernard should be a lot happier. And I know where you're
Well,
coming
I
from.
think
You're
I think
cautiously
the
happy because you don't want to make the mistake of taking a victory lap. We've all seen those Sports Center top 10 lists where someone takes a victory lap and before they win, the baton or the ball gets smashed out of their hand before they get into the end zone.
yeah.
Um, how should shareholders be feeling today? How are you feeling, and how should shareholders be feeling?
um I'm starting to feel very very relief and excited about the future. Relief in the sense that I know that with the fume silica, we're gonna very, very soon put a big check mark says, not mission accomplished, but validation is there. It's done. And what that's gonna give okay, and I know what's going to give to the market is a confirmation that HPQ, with a small team of crazy people, okay, can accomplish incredibly big things. And we're doing the same thing in the batteries, and we're going to do the same thing in the other field that we're working on. So as I look into my crystal ball, which basically there's a lot of things that I know that people don't know, and I can't, relate to them here. Very optimistic. I'm, inside of me, I'm very, very excited, but I don't want, as you're right, I don't want to take a victory tour now. There's still a lot of work to do, but I get a feeling that we're finally in the position I would have liked us to have been sooner. Okay.
Then again, every company wants to be in a certain position sooner, right? I mean,
Yeah.
shareholders, the management, everybody. But doing big things, doing great things takes time. Thanks for coming on, man. I know how much the investors absolutely love these.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how much the fudsters absolutely hate these.
No, actually, they love
you don't leave a lot of
them.
room for them to be able to maneuver inside. Say, yeah, but the capacity of the megahertz with the megawatts.
They'll find it.
You don't leave them that room, which is awesome.
Anyway,
all right, man. Thanks for joining us. To everybody at home, if you've been watching or listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, you've been watching Bernard Tourdial, CEO of HPQ Silicon, trades in Canada, HPQ, in the US, HPQFF. Do your due diligence, get to Agoracom for a great brief overview, 30,000 foot, because this is complicated stuff, but it's awesome. And then head over to the HPQ website and especially do a deep dive into their latest deck. Bernard, is the latest deck now the latest deck? Because last time we spoke, he said you need to make a couple of changes to it.
It's coming.
But it's 98% there. So do your due diligence. Thanks for joining us.
It'll be ready for the AGM.
When's the AGM?
June 27th.
When?
June 27th.
All right. I'll see if I'm in town. Thanks, Joyce, buddy. Thanks, Joyce. Everybody have a great day. See you next time.
See you next time.
Hey Small Cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agoracom? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agoracom small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.